Hello everybody and welcome back. Welcome back this week to news and reviews. Now I haven't done a review of books I've read for 2 or 3 weeks, so here are the ones that I've read recently. And we sat out in the garden. It's beautiful and sunny, so thank goodness. And it's only 11 o'clock in the morning here in sunny Scarborough, so I think it's going to get very hot today, so at least I'll sit in the garden. So the first one for review is Off the Page, and this is by Samantha van Leer and her mum Jodi Picoult. And you may recall that I read book 1, Between the Lines, and I really enjoyed that, and it was an unusual love story where a character in a book, a prince in a book, wants to leave that book and live in the real world. Well, in this edition he actually manages to live in the real world. His name's Oliver and she is, I want to call her Samantha but she's not, no, Delilah. And it's a beautiful love story, but there's a whole host of other characters in here that I gave this 5 stars. I enjoyed this that little bit more than the first one in this duology. It's very emotional in parts. It touches on terminal illness, it touches on grief, and yeah, I think it was a very refreshing change from the usual plot lines. I've been thinking recently, you know, I think it's quite subjective how every single person rates their books differently, and what's 5-star to one person isn't necessarily to someone else. And for me, I think it's that added emotional attachment, that those feels that, you know, that you get, that you're deeply emotionally attached to a book, that I think really tips it over into a 5-star read for me. Sometimes the quality of writing can be exactly the same, can be as good, but I think often 5 stars for me is how it makes me feel emotionally. And yeah, I thought it was a beautiful book, so that's Off the Page. The next one, I'm hoping you can see this because it's very shiny and the sun may not be showing it up. It's called Beautiful Broken Things, and this is by Sara Barnard, and this is a YA contemporary. I've had this on my shelves for quite a while, and this is about female friendship. It's 3 friends. There's 2 lifelong friends that live in the same neighbourhood, come from very different backgrounds. One goes to Caddy, she goes to private school, her parents are consultants, medical consultants, and Rosie, normal everyday family, you know, middle class family, goes to the local comprehensive, and they've been really close friends. And then they're joined by a new girl, Suzanne, who comes to the comprehensive, and the dynamics of this friendship really change when Suzanne comes and joins. I gave it 4 stars. I think it was very well done. There are some triggers in here for childhood abuse. I think it shows that as teenagers, younger adults, no matter what background people come from, there can still always be issues that can affect the health and well-being of the person, of the young adult, the teenager. I thought the ending could have been slightly better. It was an okay ending, but I felt that I wanted that little bit more done for one of the characters, more help provided for one of the characters. It was finished off in a way that she was dreading, I suppose, and I think more could have been done to show girls or even young men out there that want to shout out about childhood abuse, that the appropriate help is going to be available for them. But a beautiful story nevertheless, and that's Beautiful Broken Things, 4 stars. I've had some good reads this time. Next, a Jayne Fallon. Now, if you want a lovely romantic read, great summer read. Jayne Fallon, amazing author, very well written books, strictly between us, and this is a contemporary love story, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5. We've got Tamsin and her best friend Michelle, and they've been friends for a long time, and Michelle has a long time partner called Patrick, who the three of them go out and about and, you know, do a lot of things together throughout their friendship, and usual tropes, usual plot lines where there may be some infidelity somewhere in there, there may be some dishonesty going on, and yeah, it's a very good read, very easy to read, nice, great romance, nothing out the unusual, but I think that's what's nice about them. Make great summer reads, and yeah, she's a very talented author in the romantic genre. Then I've had this on my shelf for quite some while, and I like Val McDermid anyway for her crime novels, but this is Northanger Abbey. Now this is the retelling of Northanger Abbey, and you get a little bit in the beginning all about you know, the Jane Austen Trust, and you have to have special permission to be able to do these retellings, and I couldn't wait to see what Val McDermid did with this long-standing Jane Austen classic. Very excited about the blurb on here. So it's set around the time of the Edinburgh Festival, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival here in the UK. It's a big festival that happens every year up in Edinburgh, and there are loads of comedy acts, loads of little theatre troupes, singing, dancing, all sorts of things going on. It's very well attended, and so we have Cal that goes up there. She lives in Devon, I believe, and she's going up there to stay with some friends of her parents to experience the Edinburgh Fringe. She doesn't really know what she wants to do, where she's going with her career, and while she's there she meets a family, and they live in Northanger Abbey, and they're a bit of a strange family. You get the sense that there's something a bit unusual about this family, and we get this great build up to what's happening at the Edinburgh Fringe, how they all meet. She sort of falls for the son, and there's great fun. She learns Scottish dancing, and she's invited to go to spend some time with him at the family home, Northanger Abbey. And it says, turrets and creaking doors there may be, but in the depths of the Scottish borders Cat is isolated from the outside world, with no phone signal, no internet, and with a family who are not quite as they seem. Ooh. So I had high hopes for this. I thought it was going to be very gothic, very scary. I enjoyed it. The lead up to it, I was so excited I couldn't put the book down. I couldn't wait for them to get to Northanger Abbey. For me it felt a little bit flat. It didn't live up to expectations once we got to the Abbey. Still a very good read. I gave it 3.5. Don't be frightened if you're not wanting something that's too spooky, frightening. Don't be put off by this, because I didn't think it was spooky, frightening at all. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, but it didn't deliver what was on the tin for me, unfortunately. But still an excellent read, and I would recommend it. Then I had to get book 2 of the duology from Flawed, and this is by Cecelia Ahern. So recently I did review the first book in this set called Flawed, dystopian, set in a world where if anybody does anything morally wrong, no, they don't have to do anything major, but they're classed as flawed, they're sentenced, they have to live differently, they don't have the same lifestyle, they don't have the same opportunities, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Now this is, no, I gave it 5 stars. That's right. This one I gave 4 stars too. Just double check I'm right way around. Yes, I gave 4 stars to this. This is the continuation. So we do have Celestine, who has been convicted in book 1, and I'm not going to say too much about that because it would spoil book 1 for you, but this is the continuation of the story, and trying to get justice for herself and her friends, and really trying to get a more equal society. And I really enjoyed it. It brought the duology to a really good conclusion. There were some very emotional moments in here. It did sort of ring bells of concentration camps from the World Wars, and a dystopian future where people were put in concentration camps and stamped. They were all stamped with the letter F for flawed, and made to parade round in circles, and it sort of brought back all the emotions of how prisoners from the Second World War were stamped, and the degradation and how badly they were treated. And I found that very emotional, very well written, very well portrayed, and that was my favourite part of this. At times it felt a little bit slower than the first, and I was expecting a little bit more excitement from it. Having said that, it was still a 4-star read. It's still perfectly concluded. Book 1 and 2 flawed, and the second one perfect. I don't think it works if you read this first. I think you do have to read them together. It certainly you could do, but I don't think you get the same impact from it, and why Celestine is behaving and doing what she does. But very emotional parts in here, and makes you think a little bit. You know, we don't ever want to go back there, do we? So lovely. Finally, a book that I never ever thought that I would read or even like. I picked this up thinking it was a middle grade. I bought it for middle grade March. It's called Gideon Smith and the Mechanical Girl by David Barnett. Now, I don't know why I thought it was middle grade, but I did. Doesn't matter really. It is an adult book. It is dystopian. I absolutely loved it. Loved it. I can't explain why I loved it, because it's a wacky book. It's full of all sorts. It's full of all sorts of different ideas from literature rolled into a book. We have Bram Stoker in there, the real Bram Stoker who wrote Dracula. We have Dracula's wife. We have Einstein. We have flying airships that never would have happened. It's as if everybody travels by airships back in the day. I mean, this is 1775, so you certainly wouldn't have all these airships landing as if it's the land, you know, one every minute as if it's Heathrow Airport. Oh, it's just, it really is a beautifully written, easy to follow fantasy. And then that's not my genre. That's not what I would usually read. And it sort of proved a point to me that you can find within a genre that you don't think you'll enjoy, you can find your niche. I loved it, and I can't explain why I loved it, but I did. Gave it 5 stars. Now, it starts off really in the fishing village, or not far from Whitby. Now, Whitby is about an hour away from us here, and those of you that are very much into Dracula and all things Gothic, it's it's where Dracula was written. Yes, I think Dracula was written there. Everything to do with Bram Stoker. He went visiting there for all the feels of the area. There's the most amazing Whitby Abbey that's very Gothic. We have twice a year, well, one's now a steampunk, this is classed as steampunk. One is a steampunk weekend and one is a goth weekend, and it's amazing. Everybody comes dressed up, they have big festivities. It's brilliant. So it starts in this fishing village, Sands End, just further along the coast from Whitby, and Gideon Smith is the son of a fisherman there, and something strange happens and everybody goes missing off the boat, his father's boat, and there's all sorts of strange goings on, strange creatures, and he wants to get to the bottom of it really. So he joins forces with Bram Stoker and Lady Dracula and a host of other people, plus the mechanical girl, and they go off on an adventure in search of the baddies. And that's all there is to say about it really. It's one of those books you have to read for yourself. It's wacky, it's crammed full with all sorts of strange ideas, but it really works, and I can't wait to continue with the series. So yeah. There's nobody more shocked than I am that it was something that I would enjoy. So that's Gideon Smith and the Mechanical Girl. Little bits of news. Let's have a look. This 18th to the 24th of June. I mean, it's about over, but it's Refugee Week. Now, if you go onto waterstones.co.uk, I found loads of suggestions there for different books to do with refugee crisis around the world. There's a couple that I've read. Exit West by Mohsin Ahmed, that's a really good book. From a Low and Quiet Sea by Donal Ryan, and Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini, and another one, and that's an illustrated version by Dan Williams. So actually I want to look out for that one, because Khaled Hosseini, has written some amazing books there. Just an update about Middle Grade Monday, and stopping Middle Grade Monday for now. I think we're all, with Middle Grade May and loads of middle grade stuff that's been going on. I'm ready for a bit of a rest now, so I will bring that series back at a later date. Continue to read the Shakespeare box set. I am going to be doing a post soon about the Hogarth series. The Hogarth series is where some of Shakespeare's plays are rewritten in the present day by renowned authors, and so I'm going to do something about all things Shakespeare. I've got a beautiful poetry book. We've got the complete works of Shakespeare, and also one or two of the Hogarth series, so that's coming soon, and that's been highly requested. And also I'm going to be starting a new project. This is something that I saw something recently on Books and Lala. Now she's so inventive. She comes out with some great ideas for posts and read-alongs and bookathons and all sorts. And recently she read somebody else's TBR that she watches, and she read exactly the same TBR as they did for the month, and I thought that's really interesting. So I sort of took that a step further, and over the next 6 months I'm going to be reading her 5-star catalogue from 2017. So I've got a whole list of 5-star reads from Kaylee from Books and Lala, and I'm in the process of working out which ones I can get from the library and which ones I need to look out for, etc. And just because at the minute I'm doing some thinking about the subjectiveness of how we rate books, and it'd be interesting to see if I rate them all 5 stars the same as her. Very well respected booktuber, in my opinion. I really enjoy watching her posts. She has some interesting stuff to say. So yeah, they're all books that I haven't read yet, so I'm looking forward to that, make an announcement about that soon. And I think that's it. And also I've got some post about health and wellbeing recommendations. They did ask people if they wanted me to do a post on all my health and wellbeing books, and if stress management, spiritual, that sort of thing, so I will be doing that soon as well. I think that's about it then for news and reviews. I will be taking July and August off from BookTube. As you're aware, I haven't had any time off since I lost my lovely mum in March, and in July we're having a big celebration of her life. She would have been 80 on the 28th of July, and so we're all families meeting up in London, and we're going to have a big celebration in honour of my lovely mum. And yeah, my sister and her husband, my dad, and my 2 sons and a partner and their partners, and David and I, we're going to my mum's favourite Chinese. So we're really busy then, and yeah, thought I'd give you a little rest in August. A lot of people go on holiday, and I'm just in need of a little bit of a break and a few weeks off. I was glad that I continued doing booktube after my mum died. It made me do stuff, made me put my makeup on, get ready, but yeah, we're ready for a bit of a break now. So a couple more posts or whatever to go. We're still in June, and see you again soon. Bye for now.